So I'm going to talk about jobs, and specifically how to get your next job as a developer. So I'm Pam Selle. I'm a software engineer. I'm not a recruiter. I'm a technical person. But I end up giving advice a lot to people looking for jobs. And so I wanted to do a talk about kind of the advice that I feel myself giving all over and over again in hopes that, hey, if I give a talk about it, maybe more people will be able to hear about it. I teach a lot of people to program, and I also run a user group in Philadelphia with over 1,000 members. So I meet a lot of technical people, and a lot of those technical people are often looking for jobs. So you might have heard, especially with, I understand this was mentioned in the documentary yesterday, that we have a hiring problem. We have a shortage of technical talent that, we have a pipeline that needs to be filled or something, and right? But do we actually? There's actually, I like this quote, you can read it yourself, but that there's not evidence of a shortage of technical talent. There's evidence of people unable to find technical talent at the price that they're willing to pay. And that's not a shortage, just like it's not a problem that you couldn't find a half-price big screen TV. That's not really a problem. And in fact, I actually looked into one of the studies that someone was referencing of, we have a technical shortage. And if you look at the study, which I recommend if someone says something, you should look at the study and see what they actually did. They asked employers. So I think if you asked 7-year-olds if broccoli was cool, maybe they would say no. Does that make broccoli not cool? No, I think broccoli is actually fantastic. So if you ask employers, do we have a technical shortage? They say yes. Well, because I can't find a sysadmin who's willing to work for what I'm willing to pay them. That's not a shortage. So if there's not a shortage, then what is the problem? Well, to explore that, let's look at what hiring actually looks like. So hiring is difficult. So people say it's a lot, but what does it actually look like? So let us explain this with stick people, where you will experience my wonderful Photoshop skills of stick people. So here we are, our illustrious stick people. We'll have Emily, the employer, on the right, and Alan, the applicant, on the left. So Alan, the applicant, hears about Emily, the employer, or doesn't even hear about. They just wander into Emily, the employer's shop. They say, Emily, I heard you have problems. I've got solutions. Let's, I can work for you and everything will go great. Emily hires Alan, everything goes fantastic, right? This is exactly how the hiring market works. No, not at all. It looks a lot more like this. So poor Emily, especially with the internet, so I have some cheat notes over here just to make sure I get everything. All right, so now, especially, if you, on Main Street, USA, if you walked into a shop, there's kind of a physical limit to how many people who can apply for a job, maybe. With the internet, it's fairly unlimited, the amount of jobs that people can apply to. People will apply to jobs by writing a letter about how much their family needs them to get a job, which isn't really a way to get a job. But it is a great way to fill up someone's inbox. And so not only does Emily have this problem, every employer has this problem, because all these applicants are measuring their success in number of applications. And so all of them are inundated with all this noise. And so when there exists a problem in the marketplace, and if capitalism is vaguely working, there enters someone to solve this problem. And here's Robin the recruiter. And so Robin the recruiter says, I got you. Those people are really annoying, asking to, be employed by you. So I'm going to help you with that, and I'm going to do it for a cool $20,000 to $30,000 for many engineering positions. That's how much recruiters make to place an engineer. If I told you you could make $20,000 to $30,000 by emailing random people and badgering them on LinkedIn, you too would probably be tempted to become a recruiter. And furthermore, that number goes up the more rare and the more difficult it is to find the person to fill the role. So recruiters are highly incentivized, in fact, to go the other way. And so now we don't just have applicants who are feeding to the recruiter and the recruiter does their job. We have the recruiter, Robin the recruiter is off badgering everyone else and saying, hey, do you want to, hey, I saw that you've done web development in the past. How about a network administrator position in Arkansas? So that would make me $20,000. That sounds great. And in fact, so you get these all the time, and so I'll forever regret the 12 hours of my life that I ever had my resume on dice.com, because all these recruiting firms have databases full of people they've crawled, and of course also your email is often just your name, so even then it's not that hard to reverse engineer, and so you get a lot of these completely worthless cold call emails. This is a piece of garbage, email. It tells me absolutely nothing about the position, doesn't even tell me who they're for. It's open to discussing a key full-stack software engineering position with our premier global client. And they've consistently been listed as one of the best places to work for almost 20 continuous years. All that tells me is that the place has been open for 20 years. Like, that is literally the only thing I would know about this position. And so, schmuck at, Global Talent Services gets to send me, sends me hundreds of other people this cold email because if just one of them, gets placed, they get to see that money in the bank. And that is where the incentive is. So what the heck is going on? So how do we get, so this makes sense for somebody. So we have more annoyance, we have more noise, we have misplaced incentives because those recruiters are incentivized to be bad actors. The incentives are there for them to act like that. So you have to ask who benefits, so cui bono. So who's benefiting from the situation? Emily the employer, they're just fine, because Emily the employer has paid people to deal with their problem. So Emily now doesn't have that annoying full inbox of people begging for jobs and what have you, and they have outsourced that to a staffing firm. The staffing firm is happy because they're getting lots of money. So, and even if they aren't getting lots of money, I know that there's your frontline recruiter often isn't well compensated because they're kind of a burn and churn amount of people. They're the recruiting equivalent to canvassers on the street who are trying to get you to sign up for Greenpeace. The people who they get compensated, they have to send all that cold email, they don't know the market, and if they get just one, then they can move out of that position. And if they don't meet their quota, they get let go. So the person who consistently loses in this situation is the talent. It's the only person I didn't mention in that cui bono. So how do we help the talent not get sucked into this horrible position? And that is the challenge. So the challenge is that you have talent getting tons of irrelevant leads. It's difficult for talent to connect to employers. If Emily is filtering out every single resume that comes into her inbox and saying, no, I paid a recruiter to deal with that, how do you actually connect with employers when you are looking for a job and you're a talented, well-adjusted human being? And the interview process, especially for technical people, is absolutely terrible. We ask technical people to prove every single time they work for a job that they're technical people. This is not something that other industries generally do. It's not uncommon for a technical interview to span about 10 hours of work, like 10 work hours. If you've ever worked the billable hour, understand what I mean, that is work hours. That's not even including if you have to fly, if you have to travel to get that interview, the cost of taking a day off work, the emotional cost of trying to pretend like you're not looking for a job when it's really obvious that you are. That's very stressful. So how do we deal with this? So the reason for this is also I have a dream, is that I meet a lot of engineers and technical people through my networks who I see they're unhappy in the jobs that they have. And the majority of people in at least this country work for other people. So as much as there's the dream of entrepreneurship, not everyone has to be an entrepreneur, and in fact, that's probably not the best case scenario. If you're good at something, you should be able to find somewhere where you can do that and work with others to produce something of value, and that might look like a job for you. So if that looks like a job for you, I want you to be able to find the best kind of job where you can be happy, and also this not very secret agenda, because I'm about to tell you right now, is that I want people to stop working for terrible people. So if you have a job that is making you miserable, and especially if it's because you work with miserable people, I want their talent to dry up. That's what I want. So that is my agenda and how I'm going to tell you how to get a job and how you can stop working for those people ever again. That is my goal. So there has to be a better way. And so I've broken this down to my attempts to codify it into a 3-step job hunt process. And the spoiler is that this does not involve monster.com. So I call it beyond the resume, because I feel like when people give career advice, they end up focusing on, adding like the most glitter and cute animals or whatever, the ephemeral, like metaphorical glitter to your resume and your cover letter. Cover letters are good, but if that's where you focus your energy, and if you measure a job hunt in number of applications sent, you're going to have a bad time. Or at least this is what I found, and that is why it's not my preferred way to look for jobs. I don't measure it based on applications, and in fact, if I sent out more than maybe even, now I'm probably down into the single digits when I'm looking for a job of places that I'm talking to. So if you break this down to the 3 steps, is that you hunt for targets, I don't know if the people in the back can move the mouse. This annoys me when it's on people's slides. Anyone else is also obsessed with that? But like the mouse, anyway, all right, I'd love if you would move that. So you hunt for targets, you make the first contact, and then you nail the interview. So these are big buckets of steps. And so this is kind of how you're going to flow through the job process. Yay. Close, yeah. All right, we'll leave it there. That's good. So we hunt for targets. And so this really smart person said this once, that your chances of getting a job you want vastly increase if you know what you want in a job. And so step 0, before you even start your job process, is knowing what you want. And if you don't know what you want and you're asking, I don't know what do I want to be when I grow up. If you have a problem in your past, go to therapy. If you have a problem in your future, go to coaching. That's it. All right. So in terms of if you figured out the past and you have some things that you could do, here's an exercise I recommend. And this is if this were a workshop, you could do it right now. If you're taking notes on paper, you could do it right now. So make a list of all the things that you can do. So all the things that, theoretically, someone could pay you, or that people pay other people money to do this skill. Could be, setting up servers, setting up DNS, building a simple WordPress website, building a complex WordPress website, whatever skills, and enumerate those skills. And then next to those skills, you're going to make some notes. And you're going to put notes next to the ones that you don't like doing, and then you will never do them again. That's the radical thing. So within your power, figure out the things that you do that you don't like doing, and then stop doing them. This is a really concrete path to happiness. Stop doing things you don't like. And in addition, go through and put things next to stars next to the things you enjoy, and the things you want to do more of, and the things you want to spend your time on. Figure out how to focus your energy on those things, and that'll give you some hints of what you want to look for in your next job. I feel like especially the job hunt process is way too focused on what we've done and not on what we will do. And that's how you're going to move that conversation, is to think about those things that you can do that you want to be doing more of. And then once you know that, you look for places that need people with your skills. That's hunting for targets, so looking for places that need those skills, places that you're interested in, especially if, we have technical skills, you can focus on a particular industry of, like it seems like everyone's a tech company now. Bank of America is a tech company. They all consider themselves tech companies, but really it's that every industry needs people with technical skills. So think about where you can be an interested person working for another person. So, and when you're finding targets, you talk to people, you talk to other people, and you go to the watering hole. So what I mean by that is you talk to your people. So meaning, it's so surprising how rarely this happens, that when you were thinking about looking for a job or looking for a job, tell your close contacts. So that's your people. And then after you've done that and you've gotten over that hump and you've kind of practiced saying like, hi, oh yeah, I'm looking for this thing and this is what I want to do and this is what I'm focusing on, talk to people who you know less well. We think about is that kind of, if there's like a circle of your network, it's budging that circle, creating bumps in the circle. And those loose connections actually statistically end up being your best bets for finding a job, because it makes sense if you think about it. You know about the world that your close friends already know about. You don't know about the world about the person you know a little less well. And then go to the watering hole. So that tip is to look in places, if you're just looking for lists of companies, to say, I'm going to look at these people, look at the conference sponsor list. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on stage at a conference. I actually do mean that when companies sponsor a conference, especially now in this hiring market, often they're sending a signal that they're looking for people. So they actually have open positions often. There's even, I don't know if you all know, but there's a job board downstairs. So you can go look. And of course, I highly recommend, because when people sponsor or when they support the community, such as through user groups, or they show up at community forums like your regional tech meetup and events, they're sending out signals that this is the kind of thing that they're into, which means that you all connect on a values level, which is a really important thing. So after you've found some targets, you might have already made first contact. So first contact is that first conversation, because what you want to do is exchange the application process. Remember, we aren't measuring in applications anymore. The cover letter and resume combo sent to the ignored email folder is a losing game. Exchange it for a conversation, because you're a real person and they're real people. So you want to have a real conversation with people about what their needs are first, and then see if there's a skill match for what you can do. It's about a mutual agreement. Really, when people talk about job hunting, they talk about the negotiation process. The negotiation process starts from the beginning. It starts from that first conversation. Negotiation is just a mutual agreement between two parties, and in this case, it's the mutual agreement that you would be successful in a job there. And so this is when you get into it's also a little bit of a power thing, is that instead of you asking for a job, you're looking for a mutual agreement where you can help each other, and that changes the conversation. Here's some example things you might say if you are talking to someone and trying to make that first contact, if you haven't already made it by talking to someone at a networking event. It's not uncommon if you're at a networking event or talking to a close contact that you say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. Does that sound like anyone you know? And they'll say, well, that sounds like my company. Let me, put you at the top of the list, and then you have a job like days later. So you have to, if that's not what you want to happen, you might have to put some brakes on that. But let's say you have a company and you're trying to make contact. This is also common. So you say, hey, so someone you know there, you say, hey, I'm interested in talking to your company about a role there. What's the best way to do that? And the key word there is the best way to do that. Not, please tell me where your job page is. You knew that. You knew that, and if you didn't, then you didn't do your homework. But you're asking what's the best way to do that. And if they send you to the jobs page, this is what you say. So if they send you to the job, you say, hey, thanks, yeah, I did check out the page. Who could I talk to? So getting to a human being. Do you all remember when there used to be those apps that you could put in a phone number and it would route through the phone tree for you? I miss those. If you have one that still works, please send it to me. But that's kind of what you're doing. You're working on getting to a human being and having a real conversation about what they need and what you can do. If you don't know anyone at the company, here's how you find someone. You ask. So you talk to people, talk to your people, talk to other people. Hey, I'm interested in this company. Can I talk to you about what it's like to work there? Because I also say, if you're doing a cold introduction to a company and you don't know what it's like to work there at all, I ask why you're interested in that company. Because if you have some vague idea what they do, but you don't know what it's actually like to do the work on the day-to-day, you actually have no idea what it's like to work there. And so it behooves you to actually find that out. All right, and so the interview. There's actually lots of things I can say about the interviews, not surprisingly, number one, ranting about them. But I'll leave you with 2 tips. So just 2 things I can say about how to do well in interviews. So number 1 is the biggest mistake you can make in a job interview. For the love of God, do not name a number first. This is by the most commonly given piece of advice I give, and people continue not to take it. And the reason is because that job conversation process is a negotiation all the way through. So when you say name a number first, I don't necessarily mean at the end when you're talking about the compensation package. That might be a good time to have a number conversation. I mean at the very beginning. That's when you have the least information about each other, and that's the worst time to name a number. And then how to answer any interview question. I'm running out of time, but the answer is to tell a story. And when in doubt, stop talking. So how to answer any interview question is, when you respond to an interview question, have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then stop talking. Because silence is very powerful, and especially if you listen, and you know the saying about 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you listen, people will tell you, oh, this is something my company needs, and you'll learn a lot more about them and see if you're a good fit there. All right, if you want more, I'm actually working on a book. It's an alpha, which means that you can watch while it's being written. It's on GitBooks. I can tweet it out. And thank you very much. I'm on Pamasaur, thewebwar.com. Turing Complete is our podcast. Thanks.
Excellent. These are my slides. This is my microphone. We're done. Hey, hello. Okay, I want to get a bit more philosophical than in my normal talks. I'm normally giving technical talks with lots of fluffy animals. And I thought today I want to take the opportunity here to talk about some gaps that I find in the market. As a bit of a background, I work for Microsoft now as a program manager. I was in Mozilla until half a year ago. I was at Yahoo before. I was at 42 conferences in 27 countries last year. So I gave a new talk at every one of them, a catered talk to the conference, got to know different audiences, and I have quite a good insight of what we're doing here. And this clicker isn't working. Hello? Can you move on? The clicker isn't working. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. The web isn't good for us. The web has been this wonderful thing that we have gotten as a gift. It's independent of hardware, it's independent of software, it's independent of ability and location. And we all would not be here if the internet didn't exist. First of all, we wouldn't have learned about this conference. Second of all, we probably wouldn't have had a job. I started my first website in 1996. I worked as a radio journalist back then, and I realized that everybody in radio over the age of 30 is an alcoholic or unhappy or both. So I thought I'd use the internet where I can publish worldwide without any problems, and people can actually reach my stuff. And I wanted to give my whole energy to keeping this open, wonderful thing alive. And I've done that the last few years. If you move on. This is going to be awful. Yeah. No, it's an amazing, I have to wave or something, so you have to move to the next one. It's an amazing idea and an offer. We got access to information worldwide, 24/7. Move on. Just show them all. We're independent of hardware, stop. We're independent of hardware, software, ability, and geographical location. And it's a read-write medium. Everybody invited on the web is invited to become a publisher and not only a consumer. And we've forgotten this. People had blogs, people had like their own little websites, people even had their GeoCity sites, which of course was a wide idea of what creativity is meant to be and what beautiful fonts mean. But we had them, we did them. Nowadays we send each other little screenshots of TV shows and think this is humorous. We regurgitate what the mainstream media does for us and put it on the web and consider it the new media. We've forgotten that we have a voice on the web that nobody can control or tries to all the time but fails all the time. And in some places this means the only voice that they have, that the government controls from them. If you move on. Because one person's beauty is another one's worry. Move on, 3 of them. It's hard to build software and interfaces for the unknown. It's like people love to build things for the known. I've got my computer with my build script with that much RAM and this resolution, I can build a great application. On the web, you have no idea what people are using. You have no right to control what people are using. And for most developers, this sounds weird, but I love it. I love that challenge. I love not knowing what my end users are doing because they come up with use cases that I don't know. And I want to build for the unknown. I don't want to build for one operating system in one mobile phone that costs a lot of money in one country. This is boring. This is terrible. I want to build for the world. Open distribution, caching, and availability of source code is anathema to content providers. When I talked about HTML5 games on Firefox OS, I was like, my God, people can see my source code. Yeah, you change your game every week, so they have to steal your source code every week and code along with you. This is not the way to protect your stuff. People will take your things away. But photographers were always coming up to me like, how can I protect my photos online? Well, put them on a memory stick, leave them on your desk. Don't put them online because online I can make a screenshot. I love that iTunes, for example, doesn't allow me to take screenshots of movies. You know, you try to make a screenshot of a movie and you get like a checkerboard instead of the frame of the movie. Do they think that you shoot a movie frame by frame and then stitch it together again and make a pirated copy, or why is that? You know, I love finding mistakes in movies and making screenshots of that, and people would probably watch the movie after I send it out on Twitter. We forgot to find a way to monetize the web, though. It was all techno-hippie horse shit in the beginning, if you think about it. It's like, let's distribute everything worldwide. Everybody's free, everybody shares, nobody wants to make money with that, everybody's going to pay us because we're awesome. And then we went to the only thing we had, which was advertising, which was 400 years old already at that time. And then we put it on the web, and out of a sudden we realized something is not working. Excellent. We broke the web. We absolutely and utterly broke the web. We move on. Hmm. 15 seconds. This is the average time a page needs to load nowadays on a normal connection. These are 15 awkward seconds that I felt like a complete ass right now, and you were like, what's going on? And this is, if you go on, this is a research that they just found out. 15 seconds is how long it takes the page to be interactive, and 5.5 seconds is how long it takes to load. And that's the median page. This is not the worst ones out there. The worst ones are like up to 30, 50, whatever minutes, these kind of things. It's 2 megabytes in size and contains 170 resources. That's like saying we didn't do any performance talks or trainings or anything ever in the last 5 years. Most sites fail to take advantage of core image optimization techniques. People just upload massive images, sometimes raw images or bitmap files. And you're like, oh God, this is terrible. And they could, oh God, we got an iPad. We got to have the retina display of our boss's picture instead of just making people, giving you access to the service your website provides. And most sites to fail take advantage of core image optimization techniques. And the biggest problem is a lot of times advertising and social buttons. Little libraries, things that we put in the page because they're easier to use with JavaScript. HTML and CSS would never block the loading and the interaction. JavaScript blocks the interaction when we do it wrong. Move on. So what can we do? Move on. We have the technology, we can patch it. AdBlock Plus. Everybody here is probably using AdBlock Plus because we're clever. We're not these stupid people that click on ads, you know, the ones that pay our wages. You know? AdBlock Plus just got bought by an investor, an unknown investor. You know, it's not anywhere known, and nobody knows who bought them. Could be the Russian mafia, could be like the Triads, could be like Yakuza, or worse, Fox News. You know? We thought we're clever, we're blocking the internet and making our internet better, and by that we just made advertising more aggressive. And that's the problem with that. The more you block, the more aggressive they get. And then we find other technical solutions for that problem. We have, for example, Facebook Instant Articles, or we have Google's AMP project, the accelerated mobile pages, or we have Apple News. All of these things are great technology solutions. All of these things solve the problem of advertising being too slow. Especially AMP is open source. It's a nice idea. It's a bit like a mixture of web and RSS. And it gives us like the 3-second, 60 frames per second things that we want to have. But the problem is, it replaces the open web. It is an alternative view of the content that should be on the bloody internet. They want to reach millions of people. But then they show them too many ads, so people get annoyed. So we should solve the problem of showing too many ads. Finding better ways to monetize, finding better ways to make money on the web and allow us to show us advertising that makes sense and not is just like the things we never want to see. I don't understand how Facebook shows me some of the ads that I see where I'm like, I'm a fashionable person, I would pay money for nice clothing, but they show me things that I just want to scratch my eyes out. And then button like, oh, didn't you like that ad? Yeah, I want to click on every ad, not that I didn't like it, you know? And all of these things are open, yes, fair enough, but they're still maintained by one company. And this is not what the web is about. I don't want to publish where one company controls what I'm doing. I don't want to publish where one government controls what I'm doing. I want to publish on the bloody internet. I want to be out there. Power applied in a crooked way. This is in the parking garage in the Microsoft office. I didn't find any pictures, so I just took a lot of them. We take the power of controlling the internet and we push people into channels that we control. In Africa, there's places where I've been where people think Facebook is the internet, because the only thing they can reach is Facebook, because there's phones that have Facebook pre-compiled on it and no other access to any other website. They only access Facebook, the internet through the Facebook browser, so there's a lot of opportunity to basically block things, to take political statements out, to basically cut down on people's freedom of speech. And this is the only way that people can access the internet, so people control it that way. If we move on. There's a disconnect. This is my street when I get into in London, and it's quite fun because I only cycle, so I don't care. But everybody who tries to get to me by car is basically connected there. Development is still seen as magic. And that's my mom would never understand what I'm doing. I wrote a book, so she has something physical to show people, so she stops calling me. And people find problems on the internet and always blame themselves. I mean, in user testing, you see database errors, and people say like, oh, I must have done something wrong. You cannot do anything wrong to cause a database error unless you do a SQL injection or something like that, which is then the technical people again. But people see it still as magic and don't understand and are a bit scared of it and don't want to talk to us. And we, on the other hand, we internalize that. We realize we're not social people. It was quite fun when GitHub came out. We're a social network for developers. Well, good luck with that. But worked out really well. If you go on. And is magic might? Yeah, I've been at the Harry Potter studios, as you can see. Is magic might? Is technology something we should use to cut down on people's technology access? Like building a better, faster internet, rather than talking to the ad providers and say like, okay, your ads are shit. How about we make them better? You know? Instead we come up with better solutions, better technical solutions. We do that as developers as well. We're spoiled for choice and connected as developers. This is me debugging some Firefox devices at home, and I got an iOS device there, I got 5 mobile phones, I've got extra hard drives, I've got my laptop, I've got all these cool things. I'm connected 24/7, and I use it to send cat pictures to each other. And in the past, people were just like, some people would kill for internet access, and we just get very tired of when it's not really fast because we're in another country or something like that. You find cafes where they do laptop-free zones now. They don't allow you to bring your laptop, because everybody goes in there and works or surfs Facebook or something like that instead of buying coffee and getting out again and having conversations with other people. Well, they do, but over the internet, not in the cafe. We have one-track minds. We find a technical solution for something that is sweet and we want to do it. And we will find a technical solution for everything instead of a social solution, instead of understanding that the internet cannot be free anymore. We want everything on the internet to be free, everything to be available, and nobody should pay for anything. This doesn't work. There's an old saying that the only thing that's free is death, and that costs your life. And other than that, everything will cost some money somewhere. So the whole idea of us wanting everything for free on the internet is as stupid as the advertisers saying you have to pay for everything. And we find technical solutions for everything in open technology and in JavaScript as well. And we have fancy, beautiful things. We got these MacBook Pros. We've got these remote controls that work. We've got mobile phones that have several cores in them. We've got internet connectivity. When I was in Sweden, I had 4 gigabit at home. In London, I've got a 250 megabit for $30 a month. And that's just, you know, amazing. When I had my first 56K connection, I was like, nobody will ever need something faster. And then I see this now, and then like, oh my God, it's so slow. It takes like 2 hours to get a video. And we have our tooling as well. We've got JavaScript libraries, we've got build blocks, we've got building tools, we've got our IDEs. We have all these beautiful things that we want to use and we're very, very excited about. And we plug more and more of them in. We put a JavaScript library in there to make sure that Internet Explorer 8 is not bad anymore. Then we put another in there so we can actually use local storage right now across devices. Then we put another one in there that we make CSS animations in JavaScript because CSS animation is not supported by everybody. And we put more and more things on the web. And it works, but it is flimsy, because lots of small fixes take up a large space as well. The more libraries we use, the more helper tools we use, the more we make our stack more complex to reach a website, that makes up those 2 megabytes. That makes up those 115 resources. And all of it because of developer convenience. We should avoid complexity. This is the toilet in the Japanese lounge in Frankfurt. And this is the instructions how to use the bathroom. And it kind of, when I go on the web right now and I want to learn JavaScript, it feels a bit like that as well. And people are like, I go to the terminal, install this npm module with that compiler and that node install, and then you can write a hello world in JavaScript. Because it's more effective and we have better tools. Get tooling. So if you scroll this through, this is a checklist of starting a new open JavaScript library. These are all the steps that you have to do. You know, if I started JavaScript nowadays, I probably wouldn't do it. I see job interview questions after written 8 JavaScript books and working on 3 browsers. I wouldn't be able to answer those things. We get very excited. We make technology a religion, and we make, with all the dogma and the fighting that comes with that, and we get very excited about putting more and more complex things in there because more tools make us more effective. Maybe if we build simpler things, we wouldn't need that many tools and people would be happier. Complexity is scary. This is my dentist in London, and I don't know why I'm going there. But yeah, when I tell people you need these 15 steps to write your first JavaScript, people are going to go to iOS and be happy in their little closed world and where everything works for them. And they make money immediately because everybody on iOS spends a lot of money on your app. And you will be successful and a millionaire in 3 days. That's the pitch, I guess. But people are scared of it. The web we deserve, and that open web, that idea of Tim Berners-Lee, that the beautiful web is not here yet, and we gave it up. We turned the web into a lifestyle magazine that spies on us. And we made it in our image, which is obese and lazy. You know, we put the same layouts everywhere, and we call it like, oh, a parallax thing, that's the new thing this month. No, next month it has to look like that. Everything looks like Bootstrap, and then we call it innovation, and in the footer we put like, made with love in this city. Lately I worked exclusively in fixing one massive issue for the web, killing Internet Explorer. That's what Microsoft promised me, and we're on the way. Microsoft Edge is the out-of-the-box browser. It's an evergreen browser. It's a wonderful browser, much like in comparison with all the others that we have out there. And then we realized we messed up. We built a browser with an HTML5 engine that supports ES6, that does everything right, and then we send it out on the web, and we got this. We got a version for Safari, we got a version for Firefox, and Edge got the Internet Explorer 6 experience, which is the please kill yourself before you find a button experience. Because people test for browsers. They test if it's a Safari, and then they give you a wonderful experience, and everything else gets a terrible experience. We, as developers, messed this up terribly. We had to put so many aliases into the browser, same in Chrome, same in Firefox, that actually experimental technology in Safari that wasn't finished yet had to be repeated in all the other browsers not to break the web. And that makes the web slow as well, because people use experimental technology in production. Experimental means experimental. That's when people die and poisonous gases come out of things. Don't put them in production. It's 2015, and it's still all about browsers. This is the Mozilla office in Toronto. It's quite fun. We're still thinking in browsers. I now talk about people about Edge. You know, like Edge is compatible to other browsers. Compatibility is the idea, and you don't need to know about the browser any longer. If you write for Chrome, it runs in Edge. And everybody's like, oh, can I get Edge for OS X as well? I want to have every browser on my computer. Browsers should not be the case anymore. Browsers should compete on the interface, not on the engine. And we still think like, oh, we built for browsers. We check if it's one browser or another, and we give it different environments. Check for capabilities. Don't test for browsers, please. And if you do test for browsers, assume that unknown browsers are good and not terrible. Because otherwise you bring new browsers, always the first terrible experience. And then people go to native apps instead. Compatibility is the main point that we're doing here, and every browser is doing the same thing. Chrome is very much on the case, Firefox as well, Safari. The Safari team are lovely people, they're just not allowed to speak in public. You don't see them at events much, but they have lots of good stuff in there. And I love this, like, are we not testing against Edge? There's a no bug tracked against it. Well, we're testing, but there's no bug found, because we built the thing compatible. So don't worry about Edge, worry about standards, worry about using new technology, new functionality. It's decision time right now, and there is no maybe. There's a yes or a no. And I think it's time we stood up and fought for the open web that was so good for us, and make sure that we don't lose it. Trying to match closed environments with open is exhausting. We cannot match what an iOS does because an iOS is done for one operating system on one piece of hardware in one distribution model. They control everything. Trying to match that with an open thing means you make a bad open thing. Technology is a journey. It's not that we have right now a state of mind. You have to be open to new changes all the time. And I'm losing a lot of time here because I can't click. But that's why I'm almost over time. Can we move on in the journey? So let's analyze and clean up. This is a scanner that you can run through your website right now that tells you where you're doing things wrong, where you're testing for one browser only, where you're using accessibility the wrong way, where you don't have alternative text for images, where you have videos without a transcription, where you have problems in usability of your users out there. So if we move on, put the web on a diet. One outdated library at a time. Find those old libraries with that scanner tool and replace them with the newest ones and have a process to keep them up to date. Because old browser libraries, old helper libraries are the landfill of the web and they stop us from innovating browsers and making them better. Think users and interfaces first and technology second. These are the guidelines of the government right now. The US government has design guidelines. And these will be enforced in government websites. Thank you. I don't want to see these things that look like SharePoint dropouts from 1997. I want to see beautiful things, and that one is based on what Bootstrap does, has good CSS, has good JavaScript, all the things in there. Humans are better than machines. We're all about machine learning and cool things. Outlook told me the other day that it can be only one instance of lunch at a day. That's not how humans work. I mean, seriously. Or when you got these robots where they make the self-walking robots and you always kick them to prove how good they are, they're going to remember that. When the robot takeover is going to happen, they're going to see these footage and come up to us and say, do you see what you did? We will never have full control over our users, and that's great. That's how the web was defined. This is how we built the web. The next challenge is not in coffee shops in San Francisco. It's not the kids with the coolest, newest iPad that just came out. This part of the world that we just got away, is where everything happens. Every single one of these countries has a positive GDP, has more money than we have here right now, and real money, not the money that you send to each other in the Silicon Valley to companies. These are also billions and billions of people that are not online yet, but they will come online and they will be important to us, and they will need websites that work, simple ones, HTML, CSS, a bit of JavaScript after testing that it can be applied. Not like, here's a spinner for 15 seconds because I want to show you a parallax page. State of the Browser, Bruce Lawson in London gave a really good talk about this, so if you want to look through that, these slides are available online already as well. There's lots of information on this about where the next growth of the internet is happening, and it's not where we are, it's not with the technology that we use, it's a new, beautiful, wonderful challenge of thousands and millions of voices that want to go online and can go online if we help them, if we block them out and tell them, not available in your country, we're not better than the film industry. Let's make what we can control better. Let's make the websites that we have out there better and cleaner. Developers and browser makers should be friends, not competitors. We should not build JavaScript libraries to fix browser technology that's not in browsers yet. That is stupid. That is a waste of time, because every browser maker now is open to innovation and open to discussion. Even we have a Twitter account. Even we have code on GitHub. And that's the evil Death Star from the past. We're all available for you to talk to, and we need your information to build good things. Browsers are the outlines and the tools. It's your job to color them in. It's your job to use your technology, to build proper things with them, and build things for capabilities, not for browsers themselves. Please go and make a better web. This is really cool. Analyze the speed of your product. Webpagetest.org gives you a video of how bad your website performs. It gives you like a checklist to go through what you can fix. Stop trying to guess what a browser is and use and assume unknown browsers to be good, not terrible. User agent sniffing is useless. These things are unreadable. It's a pack of lies is the user agent string, as we called it. Keep up to date with what browsers can do. caniuse.com is a great website to show you what is currently in browsers, and try using it. Play with it. Use it for your good. Find user interface designs that need them, and not just like, oh, I want to use it because I want to use it. File bugs, report issues, and talk to us. the bug reported directly to the browser makers is the one that gets fixed. The bug reported on Twitter causes a hailstorm of people and like pitchforks and fire and stuff, but nothing comes out of it. File the bug, get it fixed. You make the web, let us hear what you need. All of you here are great and work in production companies that I don't know. I'm tired of hearing Silicon Valley kids in their startups complaining that they can't use the coolest, newest thing, why there's terrible websites out there where I sign up for an insurance or I try to get public transport. I want every website to be beautiful and not just the ones that push the envelope, because the envelope is flying away right now. It's flying away into a closed environment or a rubbish bin. Please make something beautiful and keep the open web alive the way it is right now. And that's all I had. Thank you very much.